Russian forces started storming Siversk from the south, where the Russians have started storming the fortified positions from the eastern flank and southern flank of the town. The Russians have reached the outskirts of the fortifications in the southern flank, which is the last of 3 fortifications in the area along the railway section, with the railway cut off and the FAB-3000 road cut off to the south. With the Russian presence along the railway, the Russians have started the battle over Siversk itself, where they are fighting over the fortifications on the eastern flank and have managed to gain control over the first parts of it. The Russians are contesting several portions of it in the southeastern parts, where they're looking to gain control over the fortifications in the southern outskirts of the town to gain an entryway into the town from the south along the railway line. To the south of this, the Russians were pushed back in the southwestern outskirts of Chasiv Yar, losing full control over the city as the Ukrainians have managed to regain positions within it. This shows why the Russians never advanced beyond that of Chasiv Yar, because the Ukrainians started a counterattack from the fortified positions outside of Konstantinivka to put pressure on the Russian positions within Chasiv Yar. The reason for this is because Chasiv Yar is located on the high ground overlooking Konstantinivka. The Russians gaining full control over Chasiv Yar, Mykolaiivka, and Zhervone will allow them to overlook the city from the northeastern flank and strengthen defensive operations towards the city along the highways. This means as long as the Ukrainians hold control over the outskirts of the city, the fortified lines, and a foothold within Chasiv Yar, the Russians cannot expand their offensive operations beyond that of Chasiv Yar to outflank Konstantinivka, which is a city that is part of the Sloviansk-Konstantinivka line, as it is in the name, and with this, the Russians are unable to break into the Sloviansk-Konstantinivka line from the high ground and have to advance from the southeastern direction, where they have to slowly break through the Ukrainian fortifications and defensive positions in the area. As for the Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad direction, there's some video footage coming out from Myrnohrad of FAB-3000 bombs being dropped within the apartment complex area, supporting the Russian forces working on gaining full control over the city. So the central and eastern apartment complex area are both being stormed by the Russians as they are bombarding these locations. Here's a panoramic view of the eastern apartment complex area. We see that there's a lot of shelling throughout the city, but the apartment complex area is largely silent. This likely indicates that the Ukrainians have withdrawn from this eastern apartment complex area, and the Russians, who gained a foothold previously in this apartment complex area, likely have control of it. But until we get clear information, flags raised, geolocations, something to act upon, then we will just keep it as speculation. To the southwest of the Myrnohrad and Pokrovsk direction, the Russians managed to gain control over Rybne and the residential area to the south as well. With this, the Russians have full control over the Yanchu River from Elenivka through Poltavka, with a small gap reaching back towards Novomykolaivka and all the way up to Yehorivka of both the western and eastern banks of the river line. The Russians are looking to expand their foothold across, expanding into Novouzbenivske to the south, with Surutke and Danilivka in the north and center. Russian forces here are slowly developing offensive operations on the northern bank of the Yanchu River in direction of the Vovcha River line, and on the western bank towards Hulyapole and the supply line leading into Hulyapole from the north. And that is going to be all for this update. Thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, check out my Patreon and YouTube membership for additional content. Thank you for watching and have a great day.